basement light is the blue light of a screen, and it is the only light in the room. Before we go any further, if you want a new AI story every single night to fall asleep to, subscribe. One tap and a new story is waiting for you every evening. The boy is 17. He sits on the edge of a twin bed with a navy comforter his mother washed 3 days ago. His socks do not match. One is black. One is gray with a small hole at the heel. The carpet under his feet is the same beige carpet that has been there since he was 4. On the desk, there is a glass of water. The water is half gone. There is a plate with crusts of toast. There is a small lamp shaped like a soccer ball that has not been turned on in 2 years. The screen in front of him plays a video. The video is 6 minutes and 41 seconds long. He has watched it before. He has watched it 11 times before. In the corner of the screen, a small countdown is running. 5, 4, 3. The next video begins on its own. It always does. He does not click. He has not clicked in a long time. The system clicks for him. Upstairs, the dishwasher is running. You can hear it through the ceiling tiles. A soft hum. A small rattle when the spray arm hits a coffee mug. His mother is up there. She is moving from the sink to the counter to the sink again. She is wearing the green sweatshirt with the high school logo on it. The one she has worn on Tuesday nights for as long as he can remember. She does not know he is awake. It is 23 minutes past 11. On the desk beside the keyboard, there is a notebook. The notebook is open. The pages are college ruled. The handwriting on the open page is small and careful and tilts slightly to the right. There are dates in the margin. There are names he did not know a year ago. There are phrases that did not exist in his vocabulary in the 9th grade. He closes the notebook. He does not look at it. He just closes it with the flat of his hand. The next video begins. A man's voice fills the small speakers in the monitor. The voice is calm. The voice is friendly. The voice sounds like an uncle who has figured something out and wants to share it with you. The boy has heard this voice maybe 200 times. He could mouth the opening line along with the audio if he wanted to. He does not want to. On the wall above the desk, there is a poster of a soccer player from a team he stopped following in 10th grade. The corners of the poster are curling. One corner has a piece of clear tape over it that has gone yellow. The browser tab at the top of the screen says the name of a website everyone knows. The little red icon, the white triangle. It has been open for 4 hours. He reaches for the water glass. He drinks. He sets it back down. A small ring of moisture forms on the wood. He does not wipe it. On the floor by the bed, there is a backpack. Inside the backpack, there is a math textbook with a sticky note on page 142. There is a permission slip for a field trip he is not going on. There is a granola bar that has been in there since September. The autoplay countdown ticks again. A new video, a new voice. This one is younger. This one speaks faster. This one uses words the boy did not know a year ago, and now uses every day in his own head. His phone sits face down on the comforter beside him. It has not buzzed in 2 hours. The last message was from his mother. It said, "Goodnight, sweetie. Love you." He did not reply. He looks at the screen. He looks at the small countdown. He looks at the blue light on his hands. Upstairs, the dishwasher shifts into its rinse cycle. The hum changes pitch. His mother says something to the dog. The dog's nails click across the kitchen floor and then go quiet. The boy in the basement bedroom does not move. The next video begins on its own. It always does. Three months earlier, a Tuesday evening in February, in a small ranch house in Waukesha, Wisconsin. The light over the sink is the warm yellow kind, the bulb she keeps meaning to replace because it hums when the furnace kicks on. Outside the kitchen window, the snow has that crust on top that means it melted a little at noon and froze again at dusk. Karen Whitlock is loading the dishwasher. She is 46 years old. She works as a billing clerk at a dental office on Sunset Drive, the one with the cartoon tooth on the sign. She has worked there for 19 years. She knows every patient's insurance carrier by memory. She knows which ones will argue about the cleaning fee and which ones will pay in cash and tip the hygienist at Christmas. She has 2 sons. Marcus is 22 and lives in Madison and works at a brewery and calls on Sundays. Eli is 15 lives in the basement bedroom and has lately stopped coming up for dinner unless she calls him twice. The dishwasher is the kind with the silverware basket on the door. She is putting the forks in tines down because her mother taught her that, even though Eli once read somewhere that you should put them tines up. They had a small argument about it. He was 11. They laughed. On the counter, propped against the canister of flour, her phone is playing a video. She does this every night now. She used to listen to the radio, the AM station out of Milwaukee, but the radio went to a talk format she did not like, and her sister told her about YouTube on the phone. Just open the app. It plays things. You do not even have to pick. Tonight it is playing a woman in a bright kitchen making a sheet pan dinner with chicken thighs and lemon slices. The woman has a soft voice and a clean apron. Karen has watched 4 of her videos in a row without choosing any of them. The app chose. The next one started by itself, and then the next. This is the part she does not think about. The app is called YouTube. It is owned by a company called Google, which is owned by a company called Alphabet. The thing that decides what plays next is a recommendation system. In 2012, the engineers who built it changed what it was trying to do. Before then, it tried to guess what you would click on. After then, it tried to guess what would keep you watching. Watch time. That was the new word inside the building. Watch time went up. The stock went up. Nobody on Sunset Drive in Waukesha heard about any of it. She does not know that the Autoplay toggle in the top right of the screen is on by default. She has never turned it off. She does not know there is a setting for it. The little blue switch glows quietly while she scrubs a pan. Downstairs, Eli is also watching YouTube. He has been watching it since he got home from school at 3:15. He is wearing the headphones she got him for Christmas, the big over-ear ones, black with red stitching. The light from the screen is on his face. He started the afternoon watching a video about a video game. The app chose what came next, and then the next. He is now 4 hours and 112 videos deep into a sequence Karen could not reconstruct if you paid her. She does not know any of this either. She knows he is quiet. She knows his grades slipped last quarter. She knows the school counselor called once and used the word withdrawn, and she wrote it down on the back of a grocery receipt and stuck it to the fridge. The receipt is still there, under a magnet shaped like a cherry. The dishwasher clicks shut. She wipes the counter. The video on her phone ends, and another begins. A man this time talking about meal prep for the week. She is not really listening. She is thinking about whether she should knock on Eli's door and ask him about his history project. She decides she will. In a minute, after she switches the laundry, the furnace kicks on. The bulb hums. The app keeps choosing. This is Karen Whitlock on a Tuesday in February, in the last season of her life that will feel ordinary. The system that will take her son from her is already in her house. It is in her hand. It is downstairs in his headphones. It is, at this moment, working exactly the way it was designed to work. That is the part that will be hardest to explain later to the reporters. It was working. It was always working. To understand what happened to Karen's son, you have to understand the house Karen grew up in. Not the building, the room, the living room with the brown carpet and the heavy television set that sat in the corner like a piece of furniture nobody questioned. That television had 3 channels. Later, 4. Karen's father would come home from the plant, eat dinner, and sit in the recliner. He would turn the dial. Whatever was on was on. If he didn't like it, he turned the dial again. If he still didn't like it, he turned the television off and read the paper. The choosing was simple. Somebody in a building in New York or Atlanta decided what came on at 7 o'clock. That somebody had a name. That somebody had a boss. That somebody could be written to, and sometimes was. Karen's grandmother once mailed a letter to CBS complaining about a soap opera. She got a reply on a piece of letterhead. The reply was polite and meaningless, but it existed. There was a person on the other end. The news came on at 6 and again at 11. Walter Cronkite. Then Dan Rather. Then the local anchor with the stiff hair and the warm voice. Everyone in town watched roughly the same news. They argued about it the next day at the diner, but they argued about the same set of facts. The arguments were loud and sometimes mean. They were not, however, about whether the moon landing had happened. Karen remembers the school librarian, Mrs. Lindholm, who wore reading glasses on a chain. Mrs. Lindholm decided which books went on which shelves. She had a degree. She had a budget. She had a procedure for handling complaints, which involved a form called a request for reconsideration. Parents could fill it out. A committee would meet. Sometimes the book stayed. Sometimes it moved. The process was slow and the outcomes were uneven. But you could find the committee. You could attend the meeting. You could speak. The newspaper worked the same way. The Gazette had an editor named Frank. Frank decided what went on the front page. Frank had a phone number printed in the paper, and people called it. They yelled at him about the headline. He yelled back sometimes. He printed corrections on page 2 when he was wrong, in a little box with a black border. The corrections were embarrassing for Frank. That was the point. None of this was perfect. The 3 channels left out enormous parts of the world. The networks decided whose faces appeared and whose did not. And for decades, those faces were overwhelmingly white and overwhelmingly male. Mrs. Lindholm had her own opinions, and they shaped the shelves. Frank at the Gazette had his blind spots, and the front page reflected them. The old gatekeepers were narrow, slow, and sometimes deeply unfair. What they had, though, was a body, a name, a desk, a phone that rang. If a teenager in Karen's town started believing something strange, the strange belief had to come from somewhere a parent could point to. A pamphlet on the kitchen table. A friend at school. A radio show on Sunday nights. The source was visible. You could pick it up. You could read it yourself. You could decide whether to throw it away. Karen remembers the video store too. Blockbuster with the blue and yellow sign. Her son, when he was small, would walk up and down the aisles, pulling boxes off the shelf, reading the backs. The store was organized by a person. New releases by the door. Family in the back left. Horror behind a swinging door. Because the manager had decided horror should be behind a swinging door. The choosing was visible. It was a building you could walk inside. When the internet came, the choosing got faster, but at first it still had hands on it. The early websites had editors. Yahoo had a directory. organized by human beings, category by category. AOL had a homepage curated by staff. Even Google, in its first years, was mostly a tool you steered. You typed what you wanted. It tried to find it. It did not yet try to find you. The flaws of that older world were real. Karen does not want to romanticize them. The narrowness was real. The exclusion was real. The slow pace meant injustices stayed unfixed for years. But there was a chain you could follow when something went wrong. And at the end of the chain, there was a person. And the person could be asked a question. And the question would be answered or refused by someone whose name you knew. That is the world Karen's son was born into the last days of. He doesn't remember it. She does. The announcement did not arrive like an announcement. It arrived like nothing at all. In the fall of 2012, a team of engineers at YouTube, which by then was owned by Google, published a short post on the company's official blog. The headline was simple. It said the site was going to start measuring success a little differently. Until that point, the platform had counted views. A view was a click. A click was a win. But the engineers had noticed something. People would click on a video, watch for 4 seconds, and leave. That click looked like a victory in the data. It did not feel like one to anyone watching. So the team made a change. From now on, the system would care about watch time. How long you stayed. How many videos you watched in a row. Whether you came back tomorrow. The blog post was careful and friendly. It thanked creators. It promised a better experience. It said the new approach would reward quality because quality was what kept people watching. Karen did not read the blog post. Almost no one did. It was a technical note in a sea of technical notes. But the change it described would, over the next 10 years, become one of the most consequential decisions any company had ever made about how human beings spend their attention. The team behind the new system gave it a name inside the company. They called it the recommendation engine. On the outside, it just looked like the column of videos that appeared next to whatever you were watching. A row of little thumbnails. A title underneath each one. A small play button that started the next video on its own, if you let it. Other companies were doing the same thing. Facebook had been refining its news feed since 2009, ranking posts by what it called relevance. Twitter, then still called Twitter, had begun reordering tweets away from a simple timeline. Instagram, owned by Facebook since 2012, would soon follow. Each company described the change the same way. We are showing you what you want to see. We are making the feed smarter. We are personalizing the experience. The language in the press releases was almost interchangeable. A spokesperson for one platform talked about meaningful connections. A spokesperson for another talked about content that matters to you. A third talked about helping users discover what they love. The phrases were warm and round, and easy to nod along with. No reasonable person could object to any of it. Behind the warm words, the math was doing something specific. The systems were learning, click by click, what kept each person on the screen, not what each person said they wanted, not what each person would be proud of watching. What kept them there? The two things were not the same. The engineers knew this. It was in the training data. The model did not optimize for joy, or for truth, or for a person's long-term well-being. It optimized for the next minute of attention, and then the next. In 2012, a researcher named Guillaume Chaslot was working inside YouTube on exactly this system. He would later leave the company and become one of its loudest critics. At the time, though, he was just one engineer among many, watching the new approach get rolled out across the platform. Years later, he would describe what he saw in calm, simple language. The algorithm, he said, was not trying to make people happy. It was trying to make them watch. For now, in the world of 2012 and 2013 and 2014, none of that was visible. What was visible was a feed that seemed to know you. You watched a clip of a late-night talk show, and the next clip was another one you liked. You watched a recipe video, and the next one looked delicious too. The system felt like a friend who had been paying close attention. Karen, in her kitchen, noticed only that the videos her son watched had started to autoplay one after another. He used to pick each one. Now he just sat there, and the next one began on its own. She thought it was a nice feature. She thought it saved him the trouble of choosing. press releases from this era are still online. They are easy to find. They talk about engagement and personalization and time well spent. They were written by communications professionals who almost certainly believed every word. The systems they were describing had not yet done anything wrong. The systems were new. The systems were working exactly as designed. That was the problem. Although no one outside a few rooms in California knew it yet, the system was working exactly as designed. In the spring of 2012, the engineers at YouTube made a small change that would, in time, change the shape of the internet. They stopped optimizing for clicks. They started optimizing for watch time. The reasoning was simple, and on paper it was even kind. Clicks rewarded trickery. A misleading thumbnail could earn a click, but to earn watch time, a video actually had to hold a person there. The first numbers came back in weeks. Watch time on the home page rose. Watch time after a video finished rose even more. The autoplay feature, which had once felt like a small convenience, now felt like a small miracle. People stayed. They stayed and stayed. Karen did not know any of this. Karen was loading the dishwasher in 2014, in 2015, in 2016, and the feed on her son's iPad was getting better and better at picking the next thing. He watched a video about building a treehouse, then a video about building a fort, then a video about a man who lived in a cabin he had made by hand. Karen, walking past, thought it was wholesome. She thought, this is better than television. Television gave you whatever was on. This gave him what he loved. Inside the company, the mood was bright. At an internal meeting, a slide went up showing a single number. Watch time on YouTube had grown by a factor of 20 in 3 years. The room applauded. The engineer who had led the project, Christos Goodrow, would later write a book about it, and the title would say everything the company believed at the time. Hit play, keep watching. The thesis was that the machine had learned what people wanted, and giving people what they wanted was a good thing. The trade press agreed. A case study went around. Advertisers loved the new numbers. A consultancy in New York published a white paper called The Attention Economy, and the coming decade, and it named YouTube as the model. Two competitors announced, within months of each other, that they were adopting similar approaches. Facebook tuned its news feed for what it called meaningful interactions. Instagram, in 2016, moved away from showing posts in the order they were made. The new feed picked for you. TikTok, when it arrived from China a few years later, would arrive already built around the same idea, only sharper. The For You page would not even pretend to be chronological. It would simply learn. An executive at YouTube was promoted. A press release went out that quarter using a single line that would be quoted many times in many places. People are watching over 1 billion hours of YouTube every day. 1 billion hours. The number was so large it stopped meaning anything. It was just a flag planted on a mountain. No one objected. This is the most important sentence in this section. No one objected because there was nothing yet to object to. Karen's son was watching cabin building videos. Karen's neighbor's daughter was watching makeup tutorials. A teacher in Ohio was learning the ukulele from a man in his kitchen in Hawaii. A man recovering from surgery in Phoenix was watching documentaries about the deep ocean for 12 hours a day. And he wrote a kind email to the company saying thank you. The mail was real. The company framed it. The system in 2015 and 2016 and into 2017 was doing exactly what it had been built to do. It was finding the next video that would hold your attention, and it was finding it well. The metric the company watched was going up. The metric the advertisers watched was going up. The metric the press watched was going up. By every measure being tracked, the machine was a success. There was no alarm because there was no signal. The system was not radicalizing anyone yet, or perhaps it was, but no one was counting that. You cannot find what you are not looking for. The team had instruments for watch time. It had instruments for retention. It had instruments for ad load and click-through and session length. It did not have an instrument for whether the next video was a little angrier than the last. It did not have an instrument for whether a person, by the 5th or 6th autoplay, had been carried somewhere they would not have chosen to go. A LinkedIn post from a product manager year ended with a line that read now. Sounds like the opening of a horror story told very quietly. We are giving people more of what they love, the post said, and they are loving us back. Karen kept loading the dishwasher. The feed kept learning. The number kept going up. It was a Saturday in early March when Karen first saw it. The morning had been ordinary. She'd made coffee in the blue mug with the chip on the handle. She'd folded a load of towels on the couch while half listening to the weather. Daniel was upstairs, still asleep, the way 15-year-old boys sleep. Like the world owes them another hour. She walked into the kitchen and saw his tablet sitting on the counter. The screen was still glowing. He must have left it there the night before, paused mid-video, the way he sometimes did when he came down for a snack and forgot to come back. Karen wasn't snooping. That's what she would tell herself later, again and again. She was just wiping the counter. The cloth bumped the tablet, and the screen brightened, and the next video began to play on its own. The thumbnail showed a man at a desk. He had a tidy beard and a calm, almost friendly face. Behind him, there was a flag she didn't recognize. Not quite American. Something with extra lines. The title across the bottom read something about the truth they won't tell you in school. She frowned. She tapped the screen and the video paused. She scrolled up to see what he'd been watching before. There was a chess tutorial, a video about how engines work, a long, gentle explainer about the Roman army, the kind of thing a history teacher might assign. Then, 3 videos down, the tidy bearded man appeared again. And below him, another man, younger, in a car, talking into a dashboard camera. Karen didn't know these people. She had never seen these channels before. Daniel had not mentioned them. Daniel barely mentioned anything anymore, but he used to talk about the chess videos. He used to show her the openings he was learning, the Italian game, the London system. She remembered the words because he'd been so pleased with them. She set the tablet down. She told herself it was nothing. Boys watched all kinds of things. She had watched all kinds of things at 15. Back when watching meant flipping past channels her parents didn't know she could find. Still, something in her chest had tightened, the way it did when a smoke alarm chirped once in the middle of the night and then went quiet. That afternoon, her sister Patty came over to drop off a casserole dish she'd borrowed at Christmas. They stood in the kitchen, and Corinne poured them both iced tea, and after a while she said it out loud. "Daniel's watching some weird stuff." Patty raised an eyebrow. "Weird how?" "I don't know. Some guy. Talking about school being a lie. Some flag I didn't recognize." Patty laughed, not unkindly. "Corinne, he's 15. When Marcus was 15, he was watching grown men light themselves on fire for views. They grow out of it. He used to watch chess. He still watches chess. You saw the chess video, right? It's mixed in. That's how it works. The app just shows them stuff. It's like the TV used to be, except 1,000 channels, and they're all running at once." Corinne turned the iced tea glass in her hand. The condensation made a wet ring on the counter. "It just showed up," she said. "I didn't see him search for it. It was the next video in the line." Patty shrugged. "That's the algorithm. It's a glitch sometimes. Or it picks up on something random. Marcus said one time his whole feed went to fishing videos for a week because he watched one. He doesn't even fish." "A glitch," Corinne said. "They're looking at all this stuff. The companies. There's been hearings and everything. They're working on it." Patty waved her hand at the air, the way people wave at things that are happening somewhere far away to somebody else. It's an edge case. You know, they flag it. They fix it. That's their job. Corinne nodded slowly. It made sense the way Patty said it. It was the way everyone said it. The platforms were huge. The platforms had teams. The platforms had teenagers in conference rooms in California, whose entire jobs were watching for exactly this. She had read about them in a magazine at the dentist's office. Trust and Safety. That was the name of the team. It sounded like a name you could trust. "Yeah," Corinne said. "Probably nothing." Patty finished her tea. She kissed Corinne on the cheek and took the casserole dish and went home. Corinne wiped the ring of water off the counter. She put the tablet on the charger. She did not open it again that night. Upstairs, the door to Daniel's room stayed closed. Corinne started a list. She did it on her phone in the Notes app, the same place she kept the grocery reminders and the kids' shoe sizes. She titled it Weird Stuff. Then she changed it to Recommendations. Then she changed it back. The first entry was simple. Tuesday afternoon. A cooking channel she liked. A woman in Ohio who made sheet pan dinners. 3 videos later, the sidebar was showing her something called What They Don't Want You to Know About Seed Oils. The thumbnail had a red arrow and a man pointing at a chart. Karen wrote down the time, the starting video, and the ending video. She did not click it. She just wrote it down. The second entry came Wednesday. She had been watching a clip from a late-night show, a monologue about an election in another country. 2 suggestions later, the feed offered her a man in a parked car, explaining who really ran the government. The man was calm. His shirt was ironed. The video had 900,000 views. By Friday, the list was 11 entries long. She tried it on purpose then. She opened a fresh browser, the kind that does not remember you, and she searched for something neutral. Knitting. She watched a woman finish a baby blanket. She clicked the first recommendation, then the next, then the next. On the 4th click, she was watching a video about how modern schools were teaching children to hate their parents. The woman in the video was crying. The comments were turned off. Karen took a screenshot. She saved it to a folder on her desktop. She named the folder for Dan. Dan was her supervisor. Dan had been at the company for 19 years, back when the moderation team had been 6 people in a room with a coffee machine. Now it was 800 people across 3 continents, and Dan had an office with a door that closed. He was a kind man. He remembered her kids' names. He asked about her mother. She booked 15 minutes on his calendar. She called it Quick Question, Pattern in Queue. When she walked in, he was eating a salad out of a plastic container. He waved her to the chair. She had brought her laptop. She had brought the folder. She had practiced what she was going to say in the car that morning, twice, because she knew she only had one shot at sounding like someone who knew what she was talking about. She opened with the cooking channel. She walked him through the 11 entries. She showed him the knitting test. She showed him the screenshot of the crying woman. She told him she had tried it again with a gardening channel, and again with a channel about restoring old cars, and both times she had ended up somewhere she did not start. Dan listened. He nodded in the right places. He set his fork down. "Karen," he said, "this is really thoughtful. I can tell you've put a lot of work into this." She waited. "The thing is," he said, "the recommendation system isn't really our team. We're trust and safety. We're the queue. The ranking team is in Mountain View. They've got, hundreds of engineers on this. PhDs. They run experiments on this stuff every day." She said she understood that. She said she was not trying to do their job. She was just noticing a pattern from the seat she sat in, and the pattern seemed worth flagging. "Right," Dan said. "And I hear you. I do. But here's the thing. What you're describing, 3 clicks, 4 clicks, that's anecdotal. It's not data. The ranking team works off billions of sessions. If there were a systemic issue, it would show up in their metrics." She asked how she would know if it showed up in their metrics. She asked if anyone had ever shown the moderation team the metrics. Dan smiled. It was a polite smile. It was the smile of a man who had been asked a question he was not going to answer. "I'll mention it," he said. "Next time I'm in a cross-functional, I'll bring it up. Send me the folder. I'll take a look." She emailed him the folder before she left the floor. He replied 2 minutes later with a thumbs-up emoji. She watched the little green dot next to his name go from active to idle to away. That night, she added a 12th entry to the list. She titled it "Conversation with Dan." Underneath, she wrote one sentence. He said it was anecdotal. She closed the app. She put the phone face down on the nightstand. She did not sleep well. Karen noticed it on a Thursday. Not because anything broke, because nothing did. She was wiping down the kitchen counter when she heard the sound from the basement. A voice, then another voice, then another. Same flat rhythm, same urgent tone. Her son Eli had gone to the bathroom upstairs 10 minutes ago. She could hear the water running, but the laptop in the basement kept playing. She walked down the stairs slow, holding the dish towel. The screen glowed blue in the dim room. A video she did not recognize. A man at a desk, pointing at a chart. Then it ended, and another one started on its own. Then another. little countdown circle in the corner ticked from 5 down to 1, and the next video began before she could think. 2 weeks ago, she had asked Eli about this, about the autoplay. He had shown her the toggle. He had clicked it off in front of her. She remembered the small, satisfied sound it made. She sat down on the edge of his unmade bed and picked up the laptop. She opened the settings. She scrolled. The toggle was on. She frowned. She turned it off again. She closed the lid. Upstairs, she pulled out her phone. She opened her own account on the kitchen tablet. Her autoplay was on too. She remembered turning it off after Eli showed her. She was sure. She had done it the same night. She sat for a long minute with the towel in her lap. Inside a building in San Bruno, none of this had been a secret. A release note had gone out on a Tuesday in March. It was 4 lines long. It said that the default state for the autoplay setting on the watch page would now be governed by a session-level engagement model rather than the stored user preference. In cases where the engagement model produced a confidence score above a certain threshold. A footnote said the change would be A/B tested on 20% of accounts for the first month, then expanded. The note was posted in a Slack channel called Launches Rex Consumer. 42 people were in the channel. 11 of them clicked the link. 2 of them replied with a thumbs up emoji. One asked a question about logging. Nobody asked what would happen to a 14-year-old boy whose stored preference had been off for 6 months. The change had a name. Internally, it was called Preference Soft Override. In the design doc, the engineer who wrote it explained the reasoning calmly. Users sometimes turned settings off without understanding the trade-off. The document said, the model would treat the stored preference as one signal among many. If the session looked like a high engagement session, the system would help the user stay in it. The document was reviewed. It was approved. It shipped. 2 weeks later, what had been a bug autoplay turning itself back on was now a feature. A bug report filed in February was closed in April with the note, working as intended. The engineer who closed it had not written the original code. She had inherited the queue. She trusted the label. Karen did not know any of this. She only knew that she had turned a thing off, and the thing was on. She tried to remember if she had imagined it. She tried to remember if Eli had turned it back on himself. He might have. Teenagers did things like that. She went back downstairs. She sat in the basement and watched the laptop for a while with the lid open. The room smelled faintly like laundry and old carpet. The little countdown circle waited at the corner of every video, patient as a clock. She tried something. She let one video play to the end. She watched the circle spin down. She watched the next video begin. It was about a young man explaining in a calm, reasonable voice why certain people could not be trusted. She did not understand the context. She did not know what came before. She did not know what came after. She closed the laptop. That night, she asked Eli about it at dinner. He shrugged. He said Autoplay just did that sometimes. He said you had to turn it off again every so often. He said it like it was weather. She nodded. She did not press. She told herself she would check again on the weekend. Outside, the streetlight came on. Inside the basement, the laptop sat closed on the unmade bed. Somewhere in a server farm hundreds of miles away, a model updated a weight by a fraction of a percent and moved on to the next user. Nothing had been announced. Nothing had to be. Let's step away from Corinne's kitchen for a little while. Let's leave the dishwasher humming and the laptop glowing on the counter. Because what was happening to her son was not rare. It was not a glitch. It was a pattern that researchers had been measuring quietly and carefully for years before that Tuesday night. In the summer of 2021, the Mozilla Foundation published a report called YouTube Regrets. They had built a small browser tool called Regrets Reporter. It let ordinary people flag videos. The algorithm had recommended to them that they later wished they had never seen. More than 37,000 volunteers installed it. They came from 91 countries. They sent in tens of thousands of reports. What Mozilla found was simple and damning. 71% of the videos people regretted watching had been recommended by YouTube's own algorithm. Not searched for, not shared by a friend, recommended. The machine had chosen them. And the recommended videos were 40% more likely to break YouTube's own rules than videos the users found on their own. The categories were what you would expect: misinformation, violent content, hateful rants, conspiracy theories about the pandemic, pseudoscience, videos aimed at children that were not safe for children. In many cases, by the time Mozilla flagged the video to YouTube, the platform had already taken it down, which meant YouTube knew the video broke the rules. The algorithm had recommended it anyway, sometimes millions of times, before anyone pulled it. Mozilla was not the first to count. Back in 2018, the sociologist Zeynep Tufekci had written a piece in the New York Times called YouTube, the Great Radicalizer. She described a small experiment. She watched a few Donald Trump rallies. The algorithm started showing her white nationalist videos. She watched a few Bernie Sanders rallies. The algorithm started showing her left-wing conspiracy content. She watched videos about vegetarianism. The algorithm pushed her toward videos about veganism, then toward videos that were stranger and stranger still. It seems, she wrote, as if you are never hardcore enough for YouTube's recommendation algorithm. That phrase traveled. Researchers cited it. Senators read it into the record. And YouTube, for its part, announced changes. In January of 2019, the company said it would reduce recommendations of what it called borderline content. It said the change would affect less than 1% of videos. It also said it was working hard. Trust and safety, responsibility, the usual words. Then came the Facebook files. In the fall of 2021, a former product manager named Frances Hodgen walked out of the company with tens of thousands of internal documents. She gave them to the Wall Street Journal. She gave them to Congress. She gave them to regulators in Europe. What the documents showed was that Facebook's own researchers had studied the harms of their own platform in detail. They had measured how Instagram affected teenage girls. One internal slide read, "We make body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teen girls." Another read, "Teens blame Instagram for increases in the rate of anxiety and depression." The company had the data. The company had filed the data away. Hodgen sat in front of a Senate subcommittee in October of 2021. She was calm. she wore a dark blazer. She said, "The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people." TikTok came under the same lens not long after. In 2022, the Center for Countering Digital Hate ran an experiment. They created new accounts that registered as 13-year-old users. Within 2.5 minutes, the For You page was serving them content about suicide. Within 8 minutes, eating disorder content. The rabbit hole was not a hole at all. It was a slide. And the oldest, hardest piece of the record came from Myanmar. In 2018, United Nations investigators said that Facebook had played a determining role in the violence against the Rohingya Muslim minority. Posts calling for ethnic cleansing had spread for years on the platform, amplified by the same kind of engagement-driven systems that picked the next video for Karen's son. Facebook later admitted it had not done enough. Amnesty International, in a 2022 report, went further. It said Facebook's algorithms had substantially contributed to the atrocities. So by the Tuesday night that Karen stood in her kitchen, the record was already long. The studies were published. The hearings were transcribed. The documents were leaked. The reports sat on government desks in Karen reads about him on a Tuesday afternoon, 3 weeks after she first noticed the strange videos in her son's room. She finds him by accident. She is searching for the words YouTube recommendation problem on her library computer because the home computer feels like it is watching her now. She types the words slowly. She is not good at this. She is a payroll clerk at a tire warehouse, and the keyboard at the library is sticky. The first article she opens has a photo of a thin man with dark hair and tired eyes. His name is Guillaume Chaslot. The article says he used to work at YouTube. The article says he helped build the thing she is now afraid of. Karen leans closer to the screen. Chaslot was a software engineer with a PhD in artificial intelligence. He joined Google in 2010 and was assigned to YouTube. His team worked on the recommendation engine, the thing that picks the next video, the thing that decides what plays after the cooking show ends. he left in 2013. The article does not say exactly why. It says only that he became uncomfortable with what the system was doing. He started a project called Algo Transparency. He built a tool that watched what YouTube recommended day after day and kept a record. Then, Karen finds the sentence she will remember for the rest of her life. In a 2018 interview with The Guardian, Chaslot said it plainly. YouTube is something that looks like reality, but it is distorted to make you spend more time online. The recommendation algorithm is not optimizing for what is truthful or balanced or healthy for democracy. Karen reads it twice. She reads it a third time. She thinks of her son in his basement bedroom. She thinks of the laptop glow under the door. The article keeps going. Chaslot ran his tool during the 2016 American election. He found that the recommendation engine was pushing divisive videos at a rate far higher than their share of the platform. He found that conspiracy videos about flat Earth, about vaccines, about staged shootings were being recommended again and again, even to users who had never searched for them. He told reporters that he watched it happen from inside the company. He said he raised it with his managers. He said the response was always the same. Watch time was up. Revenue was up. The metric the system optimized was the metric the company cared about. Nothing else was on the dashboard. In a 2019 interview, Chaslot put it another way. The algorithm is not your friend. It is trained to maximize watch time. If outrage maximizes watch time, the algorithm will serve you outrage. Karen prints the article. The library printer charges her 10 cents. She folds the paper into her purse next to her grocery list. She reads more on the bus home. Chaslot is not alone. Other former employees have said similar things. A woman named Tristan Harris. No, a man. She corrects herself. A man named Tristan Harris, formerly of Google, has been saying it on television. A researcher at the University of North Carolina named Zeynep Tufekci wrote a piece in the New York Times in March of 2018. The title was YouTube, the Great Radicalizer. Karen writes the title down on the back of an envelope so she can look it up later. Tufixai wrote that she had started watching videos of Donald Trump rallies for research. And within a few autoplays, the platform was showing her white supremacist content. She tried it with Bernie Sanders rallies. She got conspiracy videos about secret government plots. She tried it with vegetarian cooking. She got videos about veganism, then about extreme fasting, then about people who claimed not to need food at all. It seems as if you are never hardcore enough for YouTube's recommendation algorithm, Tufixai wrote. It promotes, recommends, and disseminates videos in a manner that appears to constantly up the stakes. Karen sits on the bus with the envelope in her hand. The bus shakes. A child 2 seats ahead is watching something on a phone, the screen reflecting in the window beside him. She thinks about what Chaslot said, and what Tufixai wrote, and what happened to them afterward. Chaslot kept running his tool. He gave interviews. He testified before the French Senate. He spoke at the European Parliament. The platform did not hire him back. It did not invite him to fix it. It changed some settings quietly and said the problem was solved. The problem was not solved. The problem was in her house. The problem was in the basement bedroom, behind the door. In the soft blue light, her son fell asleep to every night. Karen folds the envelope into her purse and watches her stop come closer through the window. His name was Guillaume Chaslot, and he had worked on the recommendation engine at YouTube. He left the company in 2013. For a long time after that, he was just a man with a regular job and a strange worry he could not put down. Karen did not know any of this on the Tuesday she stood at her kitchen counter, scrolling on her phone while the dishwasher hummed behind her. She was looking for someone who could explain what she had seen. She typed his name into the search bar because a mom in a Facebook group had mentioned him. The article that came up was from The Guardian, dated February 2018. In the photograph at the top, Chaslot looked like any software engineer. Soft jacket, tired eyes. He was sitting in a small office. He did not look like a man trying to save the world. What he had done was small, too. He had built a tool. He called it algo transparency. It was a simple program that pretended to be a new YouTube user with no history and watched what the system recommended next. Then it wrote down the results. That was it. A man, a laptop, a list. He ran the tool during the 2016 election. He ran it after mass shootings. He ran it on videos about the flat earth and the moon landing and vaccines. Every time, he saved the recommendations to a spreadsheet. Then, he posted the spreadsheet online for anyone to read. Karen scrolled down to a quote. Chaslot had told the reporter plainly, YouTube is something that looks like reality, but it is distorted to make you spend more time online. He said the algorithm was not evil. He said it was just doing what it had been told to do. It had been told to keep people watching. So it learned that the easiest way to keep people watching was to show them something a little more extreme than what they had just seen. He had tried, while he still worked there, to suggest other ways. He told a different reporter at a different paper that he had pushed for changes inside the company. He said the changes were not made. He said the team was small. He said watch time was the number that mattered, and his ideas would have made that number go down. He was let go. The company said it was about performance. He said he believed it was about the questions he kept asking. Karen read all of this standing in her socks. The dishwasher clicked into its rinse cycle. Outside, a neighbor was running a leaf blower. She kept reading. There was another name in the article, Tristan Harris, a former design ethicist at Google. He had written an internal slide deck in 2013 called A Call to Minimize Distraction and Respect Users' Attention. It had circulated quietly inside the company. He had hoped it would start a conversation. He had stayed for 2 more years, and then he had left, too. There were others. René Ristat, a researcher who had been writing about anti-vaccine recommendations on YouTube since 2015. She had posted her findings on a personal blog before anyone in power was listening. She had testified to the Senate Intelligence Committee in 2018. The hearing room had been half empty. There was a Mozilla researcher named Brandy Jewakink who had built a browser extension called Regrets Reporter, asking volunteers to flag videos they wished the algorithm had not shown them. The report came out in July 2021, 71% of the regret reports came from videos the algorithm itself had recommended. Karen did not know what to do with any of this. She was not a senator. She was not a journalist. She was a woman whose son had stopped coming upstairs for dinner. She thought about how small it all was. A spreadsheet, a slide deck, a browser extension, a blog post, a half-empty hearing room. These were the people who had tried to slow the thing down. They had used the tools available to a normal working person. They had filed the memo. They had given the talk. They had built the small tool on the side of their desk. And the platform had kept growing. 2 billion users, then 2.5, then 3. She set the phone down on the counter, face up, screen still glowing. Chaslot's photograph was still there. A soft jacket, tired eyes. A man who had told the truth on the record with his real name years ago. She wondered if anyone with the power to change it had ever read what he wrote. She wondered, too, if it would have mattered. Karen waited 2 days before she made the first call. She wanted to be sure. She wrote things down on a yellow legal pad at the kitchen table, the way her mother used to write down grocery lists. The name of her son, the dates, the videos she had watched climb across his screen, the cooking show that became something else in 3 clicks. She underlined the word Autoplay twice. The first call was to the school counselor. Her name was Mrs. Petrie, and she had known Tyler since the 6th grade. Karen explained it the best she could. The feed, the basement, the way Tyler had stopped eating dinner upstairs. Mrs. Petrie listened the whole way through. Then she said the school could offer a wellness check and a referral to a social worker. She said the district did not have a policy about what students watched at home. She said she was sorry. She meant it. Karen called her family doctor next. The receptionist booked a screening appointment 3 weeks out. Karen asked if there was anything sooner. The receptionist said the soonest mental health intake was in November. It was August. She tried the platform itself. There was a help center buried 4 menus deep on the website. She clicked the box that said report a concern about a young person. A form appeared. It asked for a video link. She did not have a video link. The videos changed every day. The form would not submit without one. She tried again with a link to Tyler's channel page. The site returned a message that said we were unable to process your request at this time. Please try again later. She tried again later. The same message came back. She called the customer support number listed on a third-party tech blog. A recording answered. It told her that phone support was not available for consumer accounts. It suggested she visit the help center. The line went dead. Her sister told her to call a lawyer. Karen called 3. The first one did not take consumer cases. The second one explained kindly that Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act gave platforms broad immunity for content posted by users. He said cases against the algorithm itself were being tried in a few courts, but that none had succeeded in the way she was hoping. He said it would cost more than her house. The third lawyer did not call back. She called the State Attorney General's Consumer Protection Office. A young woman took her information and read from a script. The office could open a complaint file. The complaint would be reviewed. Review timelines were currently 9 to 12 months. The young woman asked if Karen wanted to proceed. Karen said yes. She hung up and cried at the table for 20 minutes. She tried a journalist. She had read a piece in the Wall Street Journal a year before about internal documents from one of the platforms. The reporter's email was at the bottom of the article. Karen wrote a careful message. She did not exaggerate. She said she was a mother and she had something to share. The auto-reply said the reporter was on book leave until the following spring. She tried the FTC. The complaint portal was a series of drop-down menus. None of the categories fit. She picked online services and typed her story into a box that cut her off at 2,000 characters. She got a confirmation email with a case number. The email said the FTC did not resolve individual complaints. It said her case number would be added to a database used for research purposes. She called her congressman's district office. A staffer named Brandon took the call. He sounded about 22. He told her the congressman had co-sponsored a bill on platform transparency the previous session, the bill had not made it out of committee. Brandon offered to send her a copy of the press release. Karen said yes, because she did not know what else to say. She sat in the kitchen that night with the legal pad in front of her. 11 phone calls, 6 emails, 2 web forms, 1 letter mailed certified to the platform's corporate address in California. Every person she had spoken with had been polite. Every door had closed for a reason that made sense to the institution behind it. Liability, jurisdiction, budget, process, statute. Each one was doing exactly what it had been built to do. Upstairs, she could hear Tyler's door close. She could hear the soft, even hum of the laptop fan starting up. She could hear, faintly, the cheerful music of an intro she did not recognize, beginning again. She turned off the kitchen light. Step out of Karen's kitchen for a moment. Step out of the basement bedroom. Step into the cool light of a different room entirely. A conference room in San Bruno, California. A long table. A presentation deck on a screen. The date in the corner reads 2 years before the boy ever opened his first video. What you are about to hear is not invented. The documents exist. They have been entered into the public record through lawsuits, through congressional hearings, through the disclosures of people who carried thumb drives out of buildings and handed them to reporters. Begin with the year 2019. Inside YouTube, a small team of engineers and policy staff put together an internal review of what they called borderline content. The category was already named. It already had a definition. Content that did not quite violate the rules, but pushed against them. Conspiracy videos, extremist channels, health misinformation. The team found that this borderline content was being recommended at rates far higher than its share of the catalog. The algorithm liked it. Users watched it longer. So the system served more of it. A proposal was drafted. Reduce recommendations of borderline content. Not remove it. Just stop actively pushing it into the next slot. The proposal was discussed. It was eventually partially adopted. The company announced the change publicly in January of that year. Recommendations of borderline content, they said, would be reduced. What the public did not see was the internal debate. The engineers who argued that the reduction was too narrow. The product managers who worried about watch time loss. The metrics dashboards that lit up red when certain channels lost their recommendation flow. There were meetings. There were memos. Some of them have since been published. They describe a tension that never fully resolved. Safety on one side, engagement on the other. Engagement in most quarters, 1. Now move to Menlo Park. Facebook, 2019 and 2020. An internal researcher named Frances Hodgen was working on the civic integrity team. She would later carry thousands of pages of documents out with her. Among them was a study dated 2019 that examined what happened when a new account was created in India and allowed to follow the platform's recommendations. Within 3 weeks, the account's feed was filled with graphic violence, hate speech, and misinformation. The researcher wrote in plain language, "I've seen more images of dead people in the past 3 weeks than I've seen in my entire life." The document was filed. It was read. It was discussed. The recommendation systems were not fundamentally changed. There was another study. This one focused on Instagram and teenage girls. The internal slide, later printed in newspapers around the world, read, "We make body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teen girls." Another slide noted that teens themselves blamed Instagram for increases in anxiety and depression. The research was thorough. It was conducted by the company's own staff. It was presented to senior leadership. The public response, when the documents leaked in 2021, was that the research had been misrepresented. The internal response at the time of the research was to keep building. Move once more to Myanmar. The year is 2018. The United Nations issues a report finding that Facebook played a determining role in the incitement of violence against the Rohingya people. Internally, the company had been warned. Civil society groups in Myanmar had been writing letters since 2013. 5 years of letters, 5 years of meetings that ended without changes to the recommendation systems that were surfacing the inciting posts to millions. The pattern, when laid out across the documents, has a shape. A researcher flags a harm. The flag is logged. A proposal is drafted. The proposal is narrowed. The narrowed version is sometimes implemented, sometimes shelved, sometimes moved to next quarter. The metric that the company most rewards time spent, sessions per day, daily active users, continues to climb. The harm continues too. It is not hidden. It is simply weighed against the metric, and the metric is heavier. There is a phrase that appears in several of the internal Facebook documents. The phrase is meaningful social interactions. It was the name of a 2018 ranking change meant to prioritize content from friends and family. Internal analysis later found that the change had also amplified divisive and angry content, because anger drove comments and comments counted as meaningful interactions. The analysis was circulated. The ranking in its core form stayed. This is what the record shows. Not malice, not a single villain at a desk. A long, documented sequence of warnings received and choices made. The boy in the basement bedroom did not know any of this. Neither did Karen, loading the dishwasher. The memos were not written for them. They were written and read and filed away. The memo we talked about, the one written 2 years before any of this, did not vanish. That is the strange part. It sat in a shared folder. It had a file name. It had been read. People had even nodded at it, and still nothing happened. Not because anyone said no, because no one ever quite said yes. The safety review was scheduled for the second quarter. It was on a slide in a planning deck. The slide had a green check mark next to it, the kind that means on track. Then the quarter started, and the team that was supposed to lead the review had 2 people out on parental leave. So the review moved to the third quarter. In the third quarter, the company was preparing for an earnings call, and engineering attention shifted to a new feature called shorts. The review moved to the fourth quarter. By the fourth quarter, the person who had championed the review had taken a job at a different company. The slide quietly came off the deck. No one removed it in anger. Someone just made a new deck. The board meeting was a similar story. The agenda for the spring meeting included a line item about long-term content health. It was the fourth item, after revenue, after the ad market update, after a presentation on creator partnerships. The meeting ran long. The chair suggested moving Content Health to the next quarter. Everyone agreed. The next quarter, the item moved again. A year later, it was no longer on the agenda at all. Not because anyone had voted to remove it. The agenda is just a document. Documents get rewritten. In the spring of that same year, the company announced a reorganization. It was framed as a flattening. Layers would be removed. Decisions would move faster. A blog post went up on the company site, written in the warm, careful language these posts are always written in. The working group that had been studying recommendation harms reported up through a director, who reported up through a vice president, who reported up through a senior vice president. After the reorganization, that whole chain dissolved. The director took a different role. The vice president retired. The working group's members were distributed across 4 different teams, each with their own quarterly goals. None of those goals mentioned recommendation harms. The work did not stop because anyone killed it. The work stopped because the room it lived in no longer existed. Then came the hiring freeze. It was announced in an all-hands. The chief executive spoke about discipline and focus. He said the company would still hire for critical roles. Everyone clapped politely. In the weeks that followed, managers across the company submitted their open headcount requests for review. The trust and safety team had 3 open roles. 2 were for researchers who would have studied long-term engagement effects on minors. Those 2 were declined. The 3rd, a role for a policy operations manager, was approved. The team did not protest. There was no point. The freeze was not personal. It was just the freeze. A senior researcher on the team wrote a long internal post about what was being lost. She used careful language. She did not blame anyone. She listed the studies that would not get done, the audits that would not get run, the dashboards that would not get built. The post got 140 likes. 3 people commented. One comment said, "Thank you for writing this." Another said, "Tagging my manager." The 3rd was a heart emoji. The post scrolled down the internal feed and was gone within a week. information system, meanwhile, kept running. It did not need a meeting. It did not need a working group. It did not need headcount. It ran on servers in data centers in Oregon and Virginia and Singapore, every second of every day. It served billions of videos to billions of people. It did not know that a memo existed. It did not know that a review had been postponed. It only knew what it had been told to do, which was to find, for every viewer, the next thing they were most likely to watch. And in the basement bedroom, we will return to later in this story, a boy who had just finished his homework picked up his phone. The app opened. The feed loaded. A video began to play. Nothing inside the company stopped it. Not because anyone had decided not to. Because no one across all those quarters, all those agendas, all those reorganizations had ever quite gotten around to deciding to. That is what the silence sounds like. Not a closed door. An empty chair where a meeting was supposed to be. The reporter's name was Maya Klein. She wrote for a tech newsletter Karen had never heard of. She found Karen through a parents' group on Facebook, the one Karen had joined at 3 a.m, looking for someone, anyone, who had seen what she was seeing. Maya called on a Thursday. Karen sat on the back step with the phone pressed to her ear. The yard needed mowing. She told Maya everything. The cooking show, the autoplay, the videos that appeared like weather, the helpline that had not helped, the bedroom door her son no longer opened. Maya was kind. Maya took notes. Maya said she would reach out to the company for comment. The story ran on a Tuesday morning. Karen read it on her phone while the coffee dripped. It was careful and it was thorough. It quoted Karen by her first name only. It quoted a researcher from Mozilla. It described the Cascade in plain words. At the bottom, in italics, was the statement: "We take these concerns seriously," the company had written. The safety of our users, and especially young people, is our highest priority. We are committed to continually improving our systems. While we cannot comment on specific cases, we note that the experience described appears to be an isolated incident inconsistent with the broad use of our platform. We have invested heavily in trust and safety, including including thousands of reviewers and ongoing refinements to our recommendation systems. Karen read it twice, then a third time. She set the phone face down on the counter. She recognized nothing in it. Not her son, not the bedroom, not the small flicker of the screen at 2 in the morning, not the cooking show, not the autoplay that never slept. The statement was about a different house, a different boy, a different country, perhaps. It was about a company. It was not about a child. The statement moved. That is the thing about statements. They move. By Wednesday, it appeared in a trade publication called Adweek, paraphrased into one sentence near the bottom of an article about brand safety. By Thursday, it appeared in a tech site called The Information, quoted in full, with a note that the company had declined further comment. By Friday, it appeared in a Reuters Wire piece that ran in 11 newspapers. The statement was now the record. The statement was now what had been said. A month later, a staff attorney for a Senate subcommittee footnoted the statement in a filing about online harms. The footnote read simply, "Platform response. See Exhibit C, Exhibit C," was the statement. It sat in a binder on a long table between a printout of internal research and a chart of teen suicide rates. 3 months later, the company's chief executive sat for a quarterly earnings call. An analyst from Morgan Stanley asked, gently, about regulatory risk. The chief executive said the company took these concerns seriously. The company was committed to continually improving its systems. The company had invested heavily in trust and safety. The analyst thanked him and moved on to questions about advertising revenue in the back half of the year. The stock closed up 2%. Karen did not watch the earnings call. Karen was at work, scanning groceries, asking customers if they had found everything they needed. But she saw the statement again, months later, in a different article, about a different family in a different state. The wording was almost identical. We take these concerns seriously. The safety of our users is our highest priority. An isolated incident. She read it standing in the break room, microwave humming, and she felt something cold settle behind her ribs. She understood then what the statement was for. The statement was not a reply. The statement was a shape the company had built once carefully and now placed over every event that came after. The shape fit every event because the shape did not touch any event. It floated above them. It described nothing and contradicted nothing, and could be neither proved nor disproved. It was almost true. That was the design. She thought of Maya Klein, who had been kind. She thought of the reporter's careful notes. She thought of how the article had been read, perhaps, by 10,000 people, and how the statement had been read by way of footnotes and earnings calls and wire copy by 10 million. The institution had now told the story in its own voice. The institution's voice was calm. The institution's voice was lawyered. The institution's voice did not have a son. Karen put the phone in her apron pocket. Her shift was not over. She went back out to the registers. Karen learned the word from her son-in-law, the lawyer. He said it slowly, like he was teaching her a foreign phrase. Section 230. 26 words written in 1996. A small piece of a larger law called the Communications Decency Act. He told her those 26 words were the reason she could not sue anyone for what the algorithm did to her grandson. She wrote the words down on a yellow legal pad at her kitchen table. The pad already had other notes on it. The name of the helpline that did not help. The date she first saw the strange video in his watch history. The hold music she had started to hear in her dreams. The 26 words said that no provider of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher of information provided by another. Her son-in-law explained it like this. If a newspaper prints something terrible on its front page, you can sue the newspaper. If a website lets a user post something terrible, you cannot sue the website. The law treated the platform like a bulletin board, a neutral wall. Anyone could pin anything up. Karen asked the obvious question. She asked it slowly because she wanted to be sure she understood. She said, but the algorithm chose what he saw. The algorithm pinned the things to the wall. The algorithm pushed them in front of his face, one after another, for hours. Her son-in-law nodded. He said That was the question the courts had been arguing about for years. A case had even reached the Supreme Court. Gonzalez versus Google. The family of a young woman killed in the 2015 Paris attacks had sued, arguing that YouTube's recommendations had helped radicalize her killers. In May of 2023, the court sent the case back without deciding the big question. Justice Elena Kagan, during the oral arguments, had said the justices were not the 9 greatest experts on the internet. The room had laughed. Then everyone went home, and the 26 words stayed exactly where they were. There had been other mechanisms too. Karen learned about them one by one. There was a Federal Trade Commission consent decree with Facebook from 2019. $5 billion. The largest privacy fine in American history at the time. It had not mentioned recommendation algorithms. There was a Securities and Exchange Commission complaint filed by Frances Hodgen in October of 2021 with tens of thousands of internal documents attached. The complaint alleged that the company knew its products harmed teenagers and chose growth anyway. Congress held hearings. Senators read printed memos out loud. Then the news cycle moved on, and no federal law passed. There was the European effort. The Digital Services Act came into force in 2022 and applied to the largest platforms starting in 2023. It required risk assessments. It required transparency reports. It required platforms to give researchers access to data. Karen's son-in-law told her the law had teeth in Europe. Fines up to 6% of global revenue. But Karen and her grandson lived in Ohio, not Ireland, and the American version of that law did not exist. There were state attempts. California passed an age-appropriate design code. A federal judge blocked it. Utah and Arkansas passed laws requiring parental consent for minors on social media. Courts blocked those too, citing the First Amendment. Every door her son-in-law described had a sign on it that said no. He told her about the empty chair, too. When Congress held hearings on platform harms, the platforms were invited to send their chief executives. Sometimes they came. Sometimes they sent a deputy. Sometimes the chair sat empty, and and the lawmakers spoke into a microphone at no one. The hearing would be recorded. The clip would go viral for a day. The algorithm, somewhere in a data center, would decide who saw the clip and who did not. Karen looked at her yellow legal pad. She had filled most of a page. The helpline, the hold music, the 26 words, the empty chair, the $5 billion fine that did not mention the thing, the Supreme Court that did not decide, the law in Europe that did not reach Ohio. Her son-in-law put his hand on hers. He told her she had not done anything wrong. He told her the system had been built this way on purpose, and that the purpose was not cruelty. The purpose was that nobody at any single desk had been required to sign their name to the decision. The harm was distributed. The accountability was distributed. The 26 words made sure of it. Karen looked out the kitchen window. The bus stop sign at the end of the block was bent slightly to the left. She had been meaning to call the city about it for months. The light came in slow that morning. It always did this time of year, when the sun took its time climbing over the neighbor's roof, and the kitchen stayed gray until almost 7. Karen liked it that way. She liked the quiet before the coffee maker started its small breathing sound, before the floorboards in the hall began to creak. She stood barefoot on the tile. The tile was cold. She liked that too. The pan was the heavy one her mother had given her, cast iron, black as a river stone. She set it on the burner and clicked the gas. The blue ring jumped up and steadied. She watched it for a moment, the way you watch something you have watched 1,000 times and never really seen. Pancakes. Tyler had asked for pancakes last night. He had come up from the basement around 9. Hair stuck to his forehead, headphones around his neck, and he had said it like a question. "Mom, can we do pancakes in the morning?" She had said, of course. She had said it a little too quickly, because he so rarely asked for anything anymore. She measured the flour. She did not use a recipe. She had not used a recipe for pancakes since Tyler was 4 years old, and stood on a chair next to her in their old kitchen in the old house, the one with the yellow curtains. He had cracked an egg, and most of it had gone on the floor, and he had laughed so hard he sat down. She remembered that. She remembered the sound. The milk went in. The egg. A little vanilla because her mother had always added a little vanilla. She whisked it slow. Lumps were fine. Lumps were good, her mother used to say. A pancake without lumps is a pancake without a soul. Outside, a dog barked twice and stopped. A car door closed somewhere down the street. The Henderson kids would be walking to the corner soon, the two of them, the little one always running ahead. She poured the first pancake. It hissed. The edges started to set and bubble. She stood there with the spatula in her hand, hip against the counter, watching the small holes open one by one across the surface of the batter. She flipped it. The underside was the right kind of brown. She slid it onto a plate and put the plate in the oven on warm. She poured another. The coffee maker beeped. She filled 2 mugs. Hers, the chipped one with the bird on it. His, the tall green one he had used since middle school. The one with the dent in the rim from when he dropped it in the sink. She put a splash of milk in his. He took it that way now. He had started taking it that way maybe a year ago, and she did not remember when exactly. She heard him on the stairs. The heavy, uneven footfall of a 17-year-old who had grown 6 inches in a year and still walked like the body surprised him. He came into the kitchen in his hoodie and the jeans with the frayed knee. He smelled like soap. He had showered. That was something. Morning, she said. Morning, he said. He sat down at the table. He pulled out his phone and set it face down next to the placemat. She noticed that. She noticed it without naming it to herself. He did not use to put it face down. She brought the plate over. 3 pancakes, stacked, butter melting into the seam between the top 2. The syrup was already on the table. She set the green mug in front of him. He wrapped both hands around it. Thanks, he said. You're welcome, she said. She sat down across from him with her own plate. They ate. He cut his pancakes into squares the way he had since he was small. He still did that. She watched him do it and felt something soft and tired move in her chest. Bus in 15, she said. I know, he said. He took a sip of his coffee. He looked out the window at the gray yard, the gray fence, the gray sky going slowly toward blue. She could not read his face. She had not been able to read his face for a long time now. But he was here. He was at her table. He was eating the pancakes she had made him. The radiator ticked. The coffee maker sighed and settled. Somewhere upstairs, the heat clicked on. Outside, far down the block, the bus turned the corner. So we come back to it now. The basement bedroom. The desk lamp still on. The boy who is Karen's son, and the laptop open in front of him, and the document on the screen that she will later learn the police call a manifesto. Karen stands in the doorway in her work clothes. She came down because Eli did not come up for dinner. She called his name twice from the top of the stairs. The house was quiet in the way houses get quiet when something has already happened. The room smells like a boy's room. Laundry. A half-eaten sandwich on a plate. The blue light from the monitor on his face. He is sitting very still in the desk chair, headphones around his neck, hands folded in his lap like a child waiting to be told what to do. He is alive. That is the first thing. He is alive, and he is 17, and he is her son, and he is alive. She says his name, and he does not turn his head. On the screen is a page of text. The font is plain. The paragraphs are numbered. At the top there is a title, and underneath the title there is a long quote she does not recognize from a man whose name she does not know. She reads 3 lines and stops. She reads 3 more and stops again. She puts her hand on the back of the chair to keep her balance. The document is 24 pages long. She will learn this later from a detective with a kind voice. She will learn that her son has been writing it for 11 months. She will learn that most of the citations in it come from videos. She will learn that the videos came from his feed. She will learn that the feed came from a system that watched what he watched and gave him more of what kept him watching. She will learn that on his phone, in the search bar, the last thing he typed was the address of a building 40 minutes away. She will learn that in the drawer of his desk, under a stack of school papers, there is a receipt for something he ordered with a gift card. She will learn that the delivery window is tomorrow, but that is later. Right now, she is standing in the doorway, and her son is sitting in the chair, and the screen is glowing, and nothing in the world has moved for what feels like a long time. She says his name again. He turns his head a little. His eyes are red, the way eyes get red after many hours of looking at a bright thing in a dark room. He says, "Mom, I didn't hear you come down." She does not know yet what she is looking at. She knows only that something is wrong in the way a parent knows. She walks across the carpet. She sits on the edge of his bed. She asks him what he is working on. He closes the laptop too quickly. This is the moment the catastrophe completes. Not in fire, not in noise, in a closed laptop and a teenage boy, and a mother who can feel, without knowing why, that the boy in front of her is not the boy she packed a lunch for this morning. The scope of it, from where she is sitting, looks like one room, one sun, one screen, but the scope of it from above looks like something else. It looks like thousands of bedrooms. It looks like the boy in Christchurch in 2019 who live-streamed what he had been taught to want. It looks like the boy in Buffalo in 2022 who wrote in his own document that the feed had shown him the way. It looks like the Rohingya villages in 2017 and the parents in Myanmar who could not understand why their neighbors had begun to speak about them like that. And the United Nations investigator who said plainly that Facebook had played a determining role. It looks like a generation of children whose attention was treated as a resource to be mined, and whose worldviews were shaped by a process no human being signed off on, line by line, because no human being could. Karen does not know any of this yet. She knows her son. She knows the smell of his hair when he was small. She knows the sound he made when he fell off his bike in 3rd grade. She knows the way he laughed at the cooking videos 3 years ago when the feed was still just a feed. She reaches out and she puts her hand on the closed laptop. She says, "Honey." She says, "Talk to me." He does not talk. He looks at the floor. Outside, the streetlight comes on. The first van arrived just before 6 in the morning. Karen saw it through the kitchen window while she was filling the coffee pot. A white satellite truck with a tall antenna parked crooked at the curb. A woman in a red coat stood on the sidewalk holding a microphone, talking to no one. Behind her, a man adjusted a camera on a tripod and pointed it at the house. By By 7, there were 4 trucks. By 8, 6. The cul-de-sac that had been quiet for 20 years was full of cables and folding chairs and people drinking from paper cups. A neighbor came out to walk her dog, saw the cameras, and went back inside. Karen watched all of it from the corner of the living room window, standing back so they could not see her. Her sister Donna had driven through the night from Toledo. She made the coffee. She answered the door when the detectives came back with more papers. She wrote down the names of the people who called. The phone rang every few minutes. Reporters, mostly. A man from a cable news show offered $10,000 for a sit-down interview. Donna said no and hung up. Then she unplugged the phone. The press conference was at 10. The police chief stood at a podium with the mayor and a man from the State Bureau. They said the suspect's name. They said Karen's name as the mother. They said the boy had acted alone. They said they were reviewing his online history, and that early findings showed a pattern of consumption of extremist content over a period of approximately 18 months. They did not name the platform. A reporter asked which one. The chief said he could not comment on an active investigation. Karen watched it on the television in her own living room. Donna sat next to her on the couch and held her hand. On the screen behind the chief, Karen could see the corner of her own street. The lawyers started calling that afternoon. Class action firms, mostly. One had already filed a complaint in federal court that morning, naming the platform and 3 of its executives. They wanted Karen as a plaintiff. They said other parents had already signed on. They said her son's browsing history would be central to the case. They said it gently. They were practiced. A woman from Victim Services came to the house at 4. She brought a folder with phone numbers in it. Funeral assistance, counseling referrals, a hotline for families of perpetrators, which Karen had not known existed. The woman said there were more families like hers than people realized. She said it quietly, like she was apologizing for the fact. The school called. The principal's voice was careful. There would be grief counselors on Monday. There would be a vigil Wednesday night at the football field. She did not say whether Karen should come. Karen did not ask. That evening, the the stock price of the platform closed down 4%. By Friday, it had recovered most of the loss. By the end of the month, it was higher than it had been the week before. Karen learned this later from a newspaper article a reporter mailed her with a handwritten note clipped to the front. The note said, "I am sorry for what happened to your family." The article said the company had announced a new trust and safety initiative, and that analysts viewed the response as measured and appropriate. A regulator in Washington opened an inquiry. A senator from Connecticut gave a speech on the floor and held up a printout of a recommendation chain. A committee scheduled hearings for the following spring. The company issued a statement. "We take these concerns seriously. We are committed to the safety of our community. We will cooperate fully with all relevant authorities." By Sunday, the vans were gone. They left in the order they had arrived. The big network trucks first, then the local affiliates, then a single freelance photographer who stayed an extra hour, and then drove off too. The cul-de-sac was quiet again. A flyer for a missing cat blew across the lawn and caught on the hedge. Karen made phone calls she did not want to make. The funeral home, the insurance company, the bank, to ask what to do about the small savings account her son had opened when he turned 16. The woman at the bank was kind. She said she was sorry. She said it twice. On Monday morning, Donna drove Karen to the attorney's office downtown. They sat in a conference room with a view of the river. A young paralegal brought them water in paper cups. The attorney came in with a stack of folders and said, "Let's start at the beginning." Let's step outside the story for a moment. Karen is not real. Her son is not real. The kitchen, the bus stop, the manifesto on the desk. None of those people walked the earth. But the pattern they lived through has happened again and again to families whose names you may already know. In March of 2019, a gunman walked into 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. He killed 51 people and wounded 40 more. He live-streamed the attack on Facebook. Before he did, he posted a manifesto online that read like a stitched-together collage of internet jokes, message board slogans, and YouTube talking points. New Zealand's Royal Commission of Inquiry, which published its findings, in December of 2020, examined what he watched in the years before the attack. The commission reported that he had spent significant time on YouTube, which it described as a, quote, particularly significant source of information and inspiration. The Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, said publicly that YouTube was, quote, not a side issue, not a footnote. In May of 2022, a young man drove more than 200 miles to a grocery store in Buffalo, New York. He killed 10 people. All of them were black. He, too, live-streamed the attack, this time on Twitch. He, too, left a manifesto. In it, he described, in his own words, being radicalized on the internet. He named the platforms. He named the communities. He named the algorithmically recommended videos that pulled him deeper. He was 18 years old. The New York Attorney General's office published a report in October of 2022 examining the role of online platforms in the attack. It concluded that platform features, including recommendation systems, helped move users toward extremist content. These are 2 attacks. There are more. The 2018 attack on a Pittsburgh synagogue, the 2019 attack in El Paso, the 2019 attack in Poway, California, the 2022 attack in Bratislava. In case after case, investigators have found young men, often very young, who described their own radicalization in the language of the feed. They watched something, then they watched the next thing, then they watched the next thing, and eventually they were somewhere none of them had set out to go. The platforms know this. We know they know because their own employees have told us. In 2021, a former Facebook product manager named Frances Hodgen disclosed tens of thousands of pages of internal documents to the Securities and Exchange Commission and to the Wall Street Journal. The reporting that followed became known as the Facebook Files. Inside those documents were studies the company had conducted on itself. One found that Instagram made body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teenage girls who already had them. Another from 2019 found that, quote, our algorithms exploit the human brain's attraction to divisiveness. A third warned that recommendation systems were funneling new users toward extremist groups within days of sign-up. test account set up to follow conservative interests was recommended QAnon content in 2 days. There is also Myanmar. In 2018, the United Nations Independent International Fact-Finding Mission concluded that Facebook had played a, quote, determining role in the incitement of violence against the Rohingya Muslim minority. More than 700,000 people fled. Thousands were killed. In 2018, Facebook itself commissioned a human rights assessment that acknowledged the platform had been used to, quote, foment division and incite offline violence. The report was published. The recommendation system was not turned off. YouTube has, over the years, made changes. In January of 2019, the company announced it would reduce recommendations of what it called borderline content. Researchers at Mozilla, the University of California, and elsewhere have studied whether that worked. The findings are mixed. Some categories of harmful recommendation went down. Others did not. In 2023, several platforms, including Twitter under new ownership, cut off the data access that outside researchers had used to study these questions in the first place. Meta closed its CrowdTangle tool in August of 2024. TikTok restricted its research API the same year. We are, in a real sense, being asked to trust the platforms about a problem we can no longer independently measure. The boy in the basement bedroom is not real. The mother loading the dishwasher is not real. But the pattern is real. The watch time optimization is real. The internal memos are real. The attacks are real. The numbers of the dead are real, and they are written down in government reports you can read tonight if you wish. This is not a story about a future that might happen. It is a story about a present that has already happened more than once, and that has not yet been fixed. We'll return to Karen in a moment. There was a moment when this could have gone another way. It was not a grand moment. It was not a vote in a marble chamber with cameras and cheering crowds. It was smaller than that, quieter. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon in a conference room in San Bruno, California, with bad coffee and a whiteboard that still had last week's meeting on it. The year was 2019. YouTube had a team. The team had a name that changed every few months, but the work was the same. They studied what the recommendation system was doing to people. They watched the rabbit holes form in real time. They wrote up what they saw. They made charts. They sent the charts upstairs. One of the things this team built was a toggle, a simple switch in the back end of the system. When the toggle was on, the recommendation engine still suggested videos, but it would not chain them. It would not push a viewer from a mild video to a sharper one, then to a sharper one, then to the edge. The autoplay would still work. The feed would still feel personal. The cascade, though, the long staircase down into the dark, that part would soften. The team tested the toggle. They ran it on a small slice of users. Watch time went down, not by a lot, by a few percent. Engagement on certain channels dropped. Some of those channels were the loud ones, the ones that lived on outrage. Some of them were ordinary channels that just happened to live near the loud ones in the math. The team wrote a memo. The memo said, in plain language, that the toggle reduced exposure to extreme content among young male viewers by a measurable amount. The memo said the cost in revenue was small. The memo said the change could be rolled out quietly, with no announcement in the next quarterly update. The memo went to a meeting. The meeting was on a Tuesday. Karen was loading a dishwasher in Ohio at the same hour. Her son was at school. The boy who would, years later, sit at the desk with the Manifesto open in front of him. He was 11 that Tuesday. He was learning long division. In the meeting room, the memo got discussed for about 40 minutes. People asked good questions. People asked whether the test sample was large enough. People asked whether the drop in watch time was seasonal. People asked whether the change would be visible to creators, and whether creators would complain, and whether the press would notice, and whether competitors would use it against them. These were all reasonable questions. They were the questions you ask when you do not want to decide. At the end of the meeting, the decision was to gather more data, not to reject the toggle, not to approve it, to study it further. A new test would be designed. A new sample would be drawn. A new memo would be written in about 6 months by a team that was, in the meantime, being reorganized. 6 months later, the team had a different manager. The manager had different priorities. The toggle was not in the new priorities. It sat in the code base. It sat there for years. Nobody removed it. Nobody flipped it. It was just there, a small unlit switch in a system that served 2 billion people every day. That was the fork. That was the Tuesday. It was not dramatic. Nobody yelled. Nobody resigned. The engineer who built the toggle stayed at the company for another year and then left for a smaller startup. She did not give a press conference. She did not write a book. She just packed her things and drove home. When you think about the boy in the basement bedroom years later, with the desk and the screen and the manifesto, it is tempting to look for a villain, a board meeting, a cackling executive, a signed order. There was none of that. There was a memo. There was a meeting. There was a decision to wait. There was a reorganization. There was a switch that nobody flipped. This is how most of the worst things happen now. Not with a bang. With a calendar invite that gets rescheduled. With a follow-up that never comes. With a toggle in a piece of code, sitting in the dark, waiting for a hand that does not arrive. Karen did not know about the meeting. She would never know about the meeting. She would never know that on a Tuesday in 2019, when she was loading her dishwasher, and her son was learning long division. A small group of people in California chose, by not choosing, the road her family would walk. Karen learned the names later. She learned them the way most people learn the names of researchers, in the quiet weeks after the worst thing happens, when sleep will not come, and the search bar feels like the only honest thing in the house. She typed in questions. The questions led her to people who had already answered them, years before her son ever opened a laptop. The first name she found was Tristan Harris. He had worked at Google as a design ethicist. In 2017, he sat in front of a camera and said the quiet thing out loud. There are 1,000 engineers on the other side of the screen, he said, whose job is to break down your self-control. He said it calmly. He said it on television. He said it in 2017, the same year Karen bought her son his first phone for his birthday. 2 years later, Harris sat in a Senate hearing room, microphones were in front of him. The senators leaned forward. He told them the feed was not neutral. He told them the recommendation engine had a direction. He said the platforms were running, in his words, a race to the bottom of the brain stem. The hearing ended. The senators thanked him. The feed did not change. The second name Karen found was Guillaume Chaslot. She had heard him already, earlier in her search. He kept coming back. In 2019, he told The Guardian that YouTube's algorithm was not built to show people the truth. It was built to show people what kept them watching. He said the two were not the same. He had built parts of that system himself. He knew. The third name was Frances Hodgen. Karen remembered her face from the news, though she had not paid close attention at the time. Hodgen had been a product manager at Facebook. In October 2021, she sat in front of the Senate and brought tens of thousands of pages of internal documents with her. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, she said, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people. She said it under oath. She said it on a Tuesday. The documents showed the company had studied teen girls and self-harm. The company had studied it and filed it and moved on. Karen read the line again, studied it, filed it, moved on. Her son had been 13 when those documents were written. The fourth name was Zeynep Tufekci, a sociologist. In March 2018, she published a piece in the New York Times. The title was YouTube, the Great Radicalizer. She wrote that you could start with a video about jogging and end with a video about ultramarathons. You could start with a video about vegetarianism and end with a video about veganism. You could start, she wrote, with a video about a political rally and end somewhere much darker. She wrote it in 2018. Karen's son was 11. The fifth name was a woman named Renee Dye-Ristat. She had been warning about coordinated amplification since 2015. She had testified. She had written. She had explained in plain words how the systems rewarded outrage because outrage kept people scrolling. She had said it before the 2016 election. She had said it after. She had said it every year in between. Karen sat at the kitchen table with a notebook She wrote the names down in a column. Next to each name, she wrote the year of the warning. Next to the year, she wrote what had happened after. Harris, 2017, nothing changed. Chaslot, 2019, nothing changed. Tufixai, 2018, nothing changed. Hodgen, 2021, hearings, then nothing changed. Die Rista, every year, nothing changed. She thought about the engineers inside those companies, the ones who had raised their hands in meetings, the ones who had sent the memos. She thought about the answer they must have received, the polite answer, the answer that meant no. She thought about how many of them had quit, how many had stayed, how many had told themselves it would get better next quarter. She thought about the senators who had nodded gravely and gone back to their offices. She thought about the press releases. We take these concerns seriously. We are committed to the safety of our users. We are investing in trust and safety. She had read those sentences 100 times that week. They were the same sentences in the same order from different companies across different years. Karen closed the notebook. The warnings had been given. The warnings had been recorded. The warnings had been printed in newspapers and entered into the congressional record. None of it had reached the basement bedroom in time. Imagine for a moment that the toggle had been flipped. Not all of them, just one. The one Karen never knew existed, the one buried 6 menus deep, the one that said something simple like, "Do not learn from me." Imagine that in 2015, when a small group of engineers at YouTube sat in a conference room in San Bruno and argued about watch time. One of them had pushed a little harder. Not a saint, not a whistleblower, just a tired person with kids of their own who said, "What if the default is off? What if the feed forgets you between sessions? What if a person who watches one video about a school shooting is shown a cooking show next? Not another school shooting, and another, and another." Imagine that the room listened. The company would still exist. The ads would still run. The quarterly earnings call would still happen. And Susan Wojcicki would still stand in front of the slides. And the stock would still climb, just a little slower. The engineers would still go home to their houses in Mountain View and Sunnyvale and put their own children to bed. still be loud and strange and full of nonsense. People would still find terrible things if they went looking. The difference is that the terrible things would not come looking for them. Karen's son would still be a quiet boy. He would still be lonely in the way that 14-year-old boys are sometimes lonely, in a way that has existed since there were 14-year-old boys. He would still click on something he should not have clicked on, but the feed would not remember. The next morning, when he opened the app, it would show him a clip of a soccer goal and a video about how to fold a paper airplane and a song he had liked in 7th grade. The thing he watched at 1 a.m. would sit alone in his history, not multiplied, not fed back to him 100 times in 100 slightly sharper versions. He would get bored. He would close the app. He would go downstairs and eat the pancakes. Frances Hodgen would still have worked at Facebook. She would still have seen the internal research. But maybe the research would have said something different. Maybe the Instagram study would have found that teen girls felt fine, or felt the normal bad of being a teenager, the bad that passes. Maybe she would have stayed and risen and become a vice president, and nobody would know her name. That is what the world looks like when a thing works. Nobody is famous for stopping it. Guillaume Chaslot would still have built the recommendation engine. He would still have left the company, but he might have left for ordinary reasons. A better offer, a new city, a wife who wanted to move home. He would not have spent the next decade of his life trying to warn people. He would have built something else. Tristan Harris would still have worried about attention. He would still have given talks, but the talks would be smaller, and the rooms would be less crowded, and the senators would not have called him to testify, because there would be nothing dramatic enough to testify about. Myanmar would still have had its terrible history. The history was already there, long before the platforms arrived. But the platforms would not have poured gasoline on it. The United Nations report in 2018 would not have used the word determining. It would have used the word present, or active, or troubling. And the difference between those words is the difference between a fire and a flood. Buffalo, El Paso, Christchurch, some of them would still have happened. Hatred is older than any algorithm, but But some of them would not. Some of the boys in the basement bedrooms would have gotten bored before they got radicalized. Some of the manifestos would never have been written because the long, slow climb up the staircase of grievance would have stalled out on the third step. When the feed showed them a cooking show instead of a sermon, Karen would be loading the dishwasher on a Tuesday night. Her son would be upstairs doing his homework, or not doing his homework, the ordinary failure of an ordinary kid. The phone in her pocket would not ring. The news vans would not come. The world would look exactly the same as the one we have now, in almost every way, except that a small number of mothers, scattered across a small number of countries, would still have their children. That is the world. It was reachable. It is still reachable. We are choosing every quarter not to reach for it. So that is the story, or most of it, the parts I can tell you anyway. Karen still lives in the same house. The basement is finished now. New carpet, new paint, a small desk where the old one used to be, with a single lamp and a stack of library books. She goes down there sometimes in the afternoon when the light is soft. She sits on the edge of the bed. She does not cry the way she used to. She just sits. Her phone is different now. She turned off the autoplay. She turned off the suggestions. She watches what she chooses when she chooses, and then she puts it down. It is not a cure. It is a small thing. But small things are what she has, and small things are what she trusts. The platforms are still there. The feeds still scroll. Somewhere tonight, a child is opening an app for the first time. Somewhere tonight, the system is learning what that child will watch next, and the next, and the next. The engineers are still arguing. The hearings are still being scheduled. The toggles are still mostly unflipped. You know this now. You heard it while you were drifting, while the room got dark and your breathing slowed. And that means part of you will carry it into tomorrow. Not as fear, just as knowing. The way you know that a stove is hot. The way you know to look both ways. Knowing is not the same as worrying. Knowing is just the shape of the world being a little clearer than it was before. I am not going to tell you what to do about it. You are tired. You have a life. You have people you love, and a morning that is coming whether you are ready or not. changing these systems is not the work of one person lying in bed at the end of a long day. It is the work of years, and of many hands, and of laws not yet written, and of engineers not yet hired, and of parents and teachers and reporters, and ordinary, stubborn people who keep asking the same question until somebody finally answers it. You do not have to be one of those people tonight. Tonight, you only have to rest. But the next time a video plays that you did not choose, you might notice. The next time a feed gives you something a little angrier than the last thing, you might notice. The next time a child you love is quiet for too long, looking at a screen with a face you do not recognize, you might sit down beside them, not to take it away, just to ask what they are watching, just to be there in the room where the algorithm is not. That is all. That is the whole thing. Karen would tell you, if she could, that she did not miss the signs because she was a bad mother. She missed them because the signs were designed not to look like signs. She would tell you that the boy in the basement was still her boy, all the way to the end, and that somewhere underneath what the feed had built, he was still in there, the one who used to ask for pancakes on Saturday mornings. She would tell you to be gentle with yourself because the system is very large and you are one person, and gentleness is not the same as giving up. Guillaume Chaslot, who helped build the recommender, said once that the algorithm is not evil. It is just optimizing. It is doing exactly what it was told to do. The trouble, he said, is what it was told to do. And the trouble is that nobody told it to care. So care where you can, in the small ways, in your own house, with your own people, with the screen in your own hand. That is enough for tonight. That is more than enough. The lamp in the basement is off now. Karen is upstairs, asleep. The house is quiet. Somewhere, a server farm is humming, sorting the next million videos for the next million viewers. It will keep humming whether you are awake or not. So you might as well sleep. Close your eyes. Let the day go. Let the story go. The morning will come, and it will be ordinary, and you will be in it, and that is a good thing. Subscribe for a new AI story every night. One tap, and something fascinating is waiting for you tomorrow. Sweet dreams. A story to fall asleep to and wake up from. Sweet dreams.